Hey, Christy Mattoon here from Mind Rewire. I just want to show you my garden real quick and what we're doing as far as some of our planning goes into the next couple of months. This is a little herb garden that's up on a table, and what I'm doing is every time it starts to go to seed, we're popping the tops off of them, and you just take it to a place where it's right above where the next couple leaves are growing, and it just bushes out more and more. And what I do is I use a dehydrator. I'll just put it out on pans and dry it. So we've got oregano, and I'll show you up front where all this stuff is. Parsley, dill. I let everything go to seed at least once, and then we start harvesting things. So let me show you what all we've got here. This little pot right here is gorgeous right now. It's gone to seed, right? So these stalks are going to be the seeds. And this is actually Thai basil. Right, you can see under here, and I could still harvest this. We actually still pick these and use them. I pick them and just eat them because they're quite delicious. We have a beautiful aloe plant, right? Basil is known for its properties: antibacterial, antiviral, right? There's more basil. I'm hoping you can see this okay. This up here is tarragon. It's not doing too good right now. There are some bugs on it, little Mr. Buggy. Oh, I need to do something with this. And then this is a huge pot of basil, and the same thing. I just pull these stems off. I'll pull all these big tops off of this and let it keep bushing out. Right, so pulling it right where the next two start to leaf out, if you can see that in there. Okay, we also have a little tray of water for our bees. These are hummingbird feeders, but the bees come and they go crazy, and some people might get mad at me for letting that happen, but you can't really stop it. So we get a huge amount of bees. What the bees do is they pollinate things. So it's kind of cool, actually. We have this nice little ecosystem going on. This wonderful plant right here is considered a weed, but it's not. It's actually very medicinal, and I think it's called prickly lettuce. It actually helps with pain. So when you break a leaf off, you want to wait till they go to seed, right? There's the seed pods right there. Let me show you one that has gone to seed. This little tiny one over here has been picked before. Oops, and it went to seed, right? So if you pull a leaf off, or if you break the stem, you'll see this milky substance. That's the medicine, right? It's actually really good for stopping pain. And it's equivalent to taking probably a good dose of like Tylenol or something, without the side effects, right? No side effects. So you can see all of these growing here. And we've got tons of sunflowers down there. They're just growing because they're growing, and they're beautiful. Tiger lilies. This is all raspberries, minus the big bushy taller one in the center. We planted the raspberries last year, and they haven't done anything yet as far as producing fruit, but I expect next year they will. Last year they were literally just a stick. I stuck a stick in the ground that they said was a raspberry plant. I've got 3 of them. There's one more behind over here. And then again, some more of the weed lettuce that will, I'll harvest that when they all go to seed. I'll start harvesting the ones that are seeded today and start making the medicine that'll stop pain. I've got a pot of onions right here, and then these are all tomato plants that somebody actually gave me because they didn't have room for them. It was one of the chefs my husband works with. And so we've got a ton of tomato plants, and we don't typically eat a ton of tomatoes. We will eat some of them, but we just give them back, right? Give them back to, first of all, the guy who gave it to us, and then anybody around the neighborhood who likes tomatoes. Tons more sunflowers coming up. And then this is the big garden. Right now, this is going to be expanded. All of that area down there will be garden shortly. Definitely next year. Some of these sunflowers are incredible. That one's going to be huge. All right, the bees love this stuff. So I just let it grow. Tons of zinnias. We got all kinds of zinnias in here just to make it beautiful. Cucumbers. That whole patch right there is potatoes. They went crazy. Potatoes went crazy nuts. And then there's more tomatoes. Some of these are peppers. Tons of onions around the outside edge. Tons of beets. Right, there's lettuce. You can see romaine down in there. And this is interesting. This is kind of fun because all of this that's in here, including the rocks that were on the ground, are just stuff that I've recycled from the yard. Stuff that was here. Right, these are the potatoes. There's tons. Once these start going to seed, and you'll see them blossoming, right, potatoes get the little blossoms. Typically there's fruit under there already. There's potatoes under there already, and we could go ahead and harvest that, but we haven't done any yet. There's my romaine, right? It's coming up really good. This is chard. So this is what I'm eating for salads every day. I just come out here and pick what I eat. Pepper plants aren't doing too much yet. We do have quite a few tomatoes on these. And then back here is just a ton of beans, and we're already eating these too. So you got to come back here and dig around and see what you can find. I just harvested a lot of these the other day. Snap peas and then regular pole beans. These are still going to flower. Once they flower, they start producing. Right, we've got cantaloupe. It has some flowers on it, so that's exciting. That's why the bees are important. We need the bees, right, to produce the fruit. They move the pollen around. The beets, I'll take a few beets every time I'm out here and put a few more seeds in. And you can see, like, there's some different colored ones. This one will be yellow and that one's obviously red, and you can see it already, right? That's one I would take. I would take this one. I use some of the leaves, the smaller leaves I put in my salad, and then I grate the beet up and I throw it in my salad raw. Or if we've got enough of them, we'll cook them and eat them. Kale, that all needs to be picked. All right, there's a little teeny tiny tomato. There's a bigger one down there. Right, and it's just laying it out. Once you start making gardens, and for those of you who do gardens, you're probably looking at mine going, oh my gosh, what a mess. But once you start figuring out kind of where the sun falls and how everything works, we've got some little peppers. There's a couple of different kinds in here. So that's exciting. I moved that one because they planted this tomato right here and it blocked the sun of the pepper. I did want to show you this on the potatoes. This is kind of funny. So there's this little rock wall. You got the ground and then the rock wall. I built this out of bricks I found underneath the patio. We've only been in this house for a few years. And I built it out of bricks I found underneath the patio, or the landing way in the garage. And we planted the potatoes and then kept putting more and more dirt on top of it. And so we're expecting a really good harvest this year. That's rhubarb. That was here. This rhubarb was here. I keep pulling all the grass and stuff around it. There's another rhubarb, little tiny one in my shadow. It looks like somebody tried to eat it. Somebody did eat it. So, but this will keep coming back up, right? Even if my dog probably did that. So I'm constantly just pulling grass and junk out of here. With the seeds from the birds that fall in here. Get your hands dirty, right? It's grounding. Hugely grounding. And then this is another garden. These boxes were here and I repurposed them. I took them apart. And I'm gonna have to move this sunflower. Look how big this thing is. It's crazy huge. But there's basil underneath it. This is some kind of squash. That's some kind of squash. That's some kind of... My husband says that's cucumber, but I think it's a squash. And we've got them growing up trellises just so they stay off the ground and the dog doesn't get them. Right, more onions. That's an acorn squash. That one I know what is. There's some blossoms on it. More basil. The basil's gone crazy. And then more cucumbers, more beets. The carrots are just struggling. I'm not sure what's going on, why it's so hard to get carrots going. And then we had radishes here, and I threw in a couple of tomato plants just to get them in deeper ground. And then there's more seeds in between for the radishes. So we've got all that going on, and then you see in the background back there, there's more of those, what we think are weeds, and they're not weeds. They're actually really wonderful medicine. So all of the stuff I'm trying to do in this yard, right, this is what it looked like before. It was rocks and gravel. This will all turn into garden next season. I'm still working on it. I had amazing people come out here and help me clear this land just not too long ago. So I got to come and rake the grass out again. There is a dandelion population back here that I'm trying to hone into an area. So if I could get all of the dandelions, hopefully they're listening to me, to stay right here, I would be super excited. So that means I have to pick them before they go to seed and just let them keep coming up, unless I want to use the root. We use the leaves in salads. You can actually take the flowers and put them in oil, make dandelion oil. It's good medicine. Dandelions are good for inflammation. They have good vitamin structure, all kinds of good stuff in them. You know, look it up. Google dandelions. What are they good for? And you'll find out all kinds of interesting things. So that's the back and the garden that I've been doing back here. We have lavender everywhere. And this was all already here. Lavender everywhere. This jungle I'm turning into a composting area. And it started with my existing composting box, but I'm going to get all of this dug out and turned under and just start laying down foundations of compost that'll eventually get moved into the garden. And of course, as you can see, these lovely medicinal plants. Guys, this stuff is everywhere. It is everywhere. And if the foundations of our country are truly falling apart, it's really a good thing to start understanding and knowing what's in your yard and what's around your area. That bush right there is not a conifer. And I'll tell you why that makes a difference in a second. It's a lovely tree, but it's not a conifer. This one out here is a conifer, is a kind of a conifer. And the reason why that's important is because it's medicine. Conifers produce shamanic acid. And shamanic acid is one of the things that they say will actually help with the spike protein and keep it from, I want to use the right words here and I'm not going to remember them, but it'll keep that spike protein from adhering to your blood. All right, so you make pine needle tea. That's a great one to look up. Look up the Health Ranger and pine needle tea. I've been trying to start a little strawberry garden right up here, but if you step back and look at the overall picture, right, we're fighting the rocks and all the existing weeds that were here, but that patch is staying relatively clear, so it's kind of fun. I mean, some of this is just straight up mess, but I keep working on it. It's just a little bit at a time. Right, get your hands, be outside. The sunshine, right, it produces vitamin D. I put in a few roses and the lavender just takes over. But be outside in the sunshine. Stick your hands in the dirt. Everybody runs and goes and grabs their gloves, and I just don't. You want to get your hands dirty. You want your hands to be in the dirt, participating, right, with the ground. So up front here, this is mint. This is going to seed, right? Maybe you can see that. Let me see if I can get a good, right? So I'll come out here and crop all this. I keep saying I'm going to do it and I haven't done it yet. If I don't crop it, it'll start to die back. Once they go to seed, they start to die back. This is chamomile. I put this in last year. That actually came from a neighbor, and that mint came from a neighbor, two different kinds of mint. This I laid down seeds for. When it finally came up and the seeds fell, they fell in the rocks. You can see all the seeds that are in there right now. So what I've been doing, and I'm going to come out here and do this again, is I'm going to take all these little ones that have already gone, and they're wet because I watered it this morning, but I'm trying to drop them up in here, and then I'll throw down some more dirt and get them to grow up where I wanted them to grow. You can see a few of them did it, but most of them are back here. And I've been reading about chamomile. You take the chamomile when the flower is open, and all of these have already died back because I wanted to use it for the seeding. You would take it when it's more like that, like that. And this is what you make the tea out of. So you would pop the flower, take that and dry it, and that would be your tea. And all of these are already passed. And it's fine, because if it goes to seed, here's some good ones down here. Ding, right, I would take that and I would dry them. It's an act of love to yourself to do this stuff. It really is. I keep trying to push these forward so the seeds will fall in the ground up there. Another one of the wonderful medicine weeds. Mint. That's a little plant of mint. Different. They're all different kinds of mint. That's all sage. It's all white sage. It went to seed. Right? This is the the sage you typically see. This is the seeds. This is what happens as it gets older. It gets this darker color to it. So I can come out here. Those are sage flowers. Super pretty. I could come out here and harvest a ton of this and just make bundles of sage. I actually did that with lavender. Right? This all was here. I need to see what I can do about that. The root of these plants, I can't think of the name of them, and I know every one of you will know it. The root of those plants is where the medicine is, so I leave them there. But it's not in the leaves and it's not in the flowers, it's in the root. If you dig it up, you don't have the plant anymore. These plants are amazing. These are the plants, I don't know what they're called, but when they flower, they're gorgeous. And they say that's what feeds the monarch butterflies in the area, so we've been trying to leave them alone. And the rest of all of this is literally herbs. I cleaned this garden out. I've got rosemary. Rosemary you have to replant every year. Dill. This is all dill. And it's all dill that's gone to seed. So I could come out and take all of this, which I probably will. That's what I did the other day. Dry it, jar it,